this video, we're going to show you how to cook a fillet steak.
Yum.
So, the first thing I'm going to do is actually pat the meat dry. Do you want to explain what I'm doing whilst I do it, Tracy?
I can.
Thank you.
So she's patting the meat dry so that we start with a dry piece of meat. If you have very wet meat, when you put the olive oil on it or you put it into the pan, you won't get any colour on it, and B, you won't get any moisture will repel the oil. So Bry's now seasoning the steak with salt and pepper, both sides. Beautiful. Nice and even seasoning. And she's going to give it a good old massage there with a lovely bit of fresh olive oil. And good salt and pepper is really important, and good olive oil is really important. We may add some olive oil to the pan. I'm just going to see how it looks as we're cooking it.
Okay.
But especially if you're cooking that on the barbecue, that's all you need to do. You obviously don't put oil on your barbecue.
All right, so we've
so
got
the
a hot
pan's
pan.
hot. I've had it on the heat for about 5 minutes. You can. Oh, do you,
No, I'll put
I
the
can
steak
do
in
that.
first. Okay.
Yeah. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, go for it.
We're ever so polite, aren't we? Ever so polite. So the fillet steak is a prime cut, and we do want to have a pan that is hot,
Sizzle.
so you can hear the sizzle. As the steak goes in, this is at room temperature, so it's not going to cool the pan down a bit, but that first sizzle as it went in is just slightly going down now, so I'm going to turn the pan up a bit. So cooking is like dancing in the moment, isn't it? Like up, down, side.
So we were so room temperature meat. You want to bring it out of the fridge so that you can get that sizzle at the start, so it's not dropping the heat.
And it keeps it more
in
tender.
The pan.
It keeps it more tender.
It's not
Very
good-
cold from the fridge into a very hot pan. If you were put in there, you'd be going like this as well, wouldn't you? That's exactly what the steak does. So it's important to have the meat at room temperature or close to room temperature. Use your common sense there. You don't
it's
want to
40
leave
degrees,
you
yeah.
don't want to leave things out of 40 degrees. Beef is safer to leave out, whereas chicken and pork, just be very careful with those.
So did we say this was a prime cut and it's not much fat on it, and it's going to be nice and tender. So we don't want to overcook it. We're looking for medium rare today.
Yeah, we're looking for about medium rare today, so we can just show you this. Now you can see that the pan is now smoking a bit, so it's come up again, and I'm going to turn that down a bit. I'd like to hear a little bit more of a sizzle, so I'm just going to add some oil into this pan, and you'll immediately hear, once it hits the meat, you'll hear it sizzling. There you go. And this is where you can get a little bit messy, so if you want to, you can definitely put a splatter guard over your meat as well. If you don't like cleaning your stove, that's quite a good thing to have in your cupboards. So we're cooking the meat. There's you can either turn it over time and time again if you like doing that sort of thing and you're busy doing things. But if you're busy doing things, you can just leave the steak like this. And at the moment, I can see the colour of the steak changing as it starts cooking from the bottom upwards. Bear in mind, we've got our stove on number 6. So we don't want, and high is 12. So it's medium at the moment. If you put it in the pan when the pan's too hot, there is such a thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's going to start burning and going black before the heat's got through the steak.
Yep.
So it's important to understand that whilst the pan needs to be nice and hot, in other words, preheated, it doesn't need to be on a searing hot temperature. So we only need it on a medium-high heat.
And we can't tell you how long it will take. Like a
Exactly.
fillet steak will take so many minutes, because they're all going to be different thicknesses. So what we're going to do today, as we're learning or teaching you the basics of it, we're actually going to use a thermometer, and it's a great tool to have.
Means it's accurate.
That's
for you.
right.
It's
So you can
easy.
actually take it out at a certain temperature.
Should we pop it in the steak now
just
and
to get
have
an
a little look at it?
And then we can be a lot more accurate, and you will learn over time, like by touching the steak. We'll show you when we turn it over, how it's done by the feel of the steak.
Exactly. So we've got about 22 degrees in the kitchen. If I push this into the middle of the steak, I don't want it touching the pan. I don't want it touching the pan, because obviously that pan is super hot. But we're going to be up to probably about 30 degrees at the moment in the center of the steak. So that's blue, I would say. I love my steak blue.
Looks like it on that side.
Yes, it does. So you can turn it over time and time again.
What a beautiful crust.
Yeah,
and seal.
that's absolutely gorgeous. So this will give it flavor. But I want to show people, this is important. See how that it's cooking through the steak? Can you see the browner bits and the red bits? So you can actually see from the side of the steak that it's where it's actually getting to as it's cooking. So this is still very soft, this steak. So it's still, as we know from the temperature, it's still blue or very, very rare, because I've just turned it over. And that's how I like to, we like to teach people how to cook meat, poultry, fish, is by using your fingers, by using your touch. Because if you're out on the barbecue, you haven't got your thermometer, whatever, or you haven't got a thermometer, the easiest way to understand it, I believe, is that when you touch raw meat, it's like a feather pillow, so it doesn't come back up again. So if you put your head on the feather pillow, you pull it up, you're going to leave an indent. It's exactly the same, feeling the raw meat. As it cooks, it becomes more and more springy and bouncy, like a latex pillow. So if you put your head on a latex pillow, you pull it up, it's all nice and neat and smooth. So it's that's the way you can tell how your meat is cooked. Now, doing different cuts of steaks, we've got another couple of videos for you with a fillet, with a rump steak and a T-bone steak as well. You'll feel that there is a slight difference in the meat feeling, but as you touch it. But really, you're going to get a very, very good sense of how your steak's going by touch if you practice.
Yeah, you'll train your fingers to know how you like your steak and how it feels when it's done, according to the type of steak that you would have.
So I'm going to pop this back into the center now. Oh, I don't want to touch the thing. So we're up to 42. Yeah, well, can you see how that's slowing down a bit? 42, and then it's going back as I move it around.
Yeah.
So as the thermometer slows up, you'll know that you're sort of near to that temperature.
Yep.
Whereas if it's going climbing up really, really fast on there, you'll know that you've got a little way to go. So we've still got a couple of minutes on this side for that steak. So
sorry,
will we come back?
Well, you wanted to talk about seasoning this.
I did too.
Yes,
which is brilliant. So with the seasoning part of things, thank you, Bri.
That's right. The pre-salting.
The pre-salting. So I've been doing a lot of work with pre-salting things, i.e. meat, before it's cooked. With a steak, I found that if you salt it up, a couple of hours minimum, but you can salt it in the morning and eat it in the evening. Nothing wrong with that. It won't make it go dry. It's a bit scientific, but just trust me on that one. If you salt it and pop it in the fridge, cover it up, you're going to get the salt will travel right through that steak during the day, or even in the 2 hours. And we found in classes that if we pre-salt the steak beforehand, it tastes fabulous right the way through the steak. Don't worry about the pepper, because it's not the same thing. Pepper is a spice, salt is a mineral.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, that's right. She went.
I was
went
listening.
I
was listening.
Oh, were you? It's lovely.
We're going to check.
Should we check it again? Because we're actually going to take it off to rest as well. So try the salt thing. Just try it out. If you don't like it, don't do it.
Salt earlier, and then what do you then just pepper and oil it before putting it in the pan?
Yeah, so pat it dry, because there will be some moisture come out of it, but not too much.
We want to get that off.
Okay, so we're on 56, 57. So we're going to take that off now, because that's definitely going to be medium rare to medium, and we're going to rest it. So this allows the fibres in the steak to relax. So we're going to come back in about 3 minutes once it's rested and talk a little bit more about that.
We've got a little dome over it to keep that heat in.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And we'll come back.
Foil, up to you. So the steak's been resting for a couple of minutes under the dome of the stainless steel bowl where the heat has come up.
I can feel a nice heat
and
there.
it's really nice and warm. So it keeps the steak warm. If you can pop your plate in the microwave or in a warm oven to heat through as well, you'll have an even hotter steak. So you can see.
Right.
The resting, it does create a bit of juice.
Beautiful.
That's, yeah, absolutely perfect. So Bryce is going to cut this in half and show you. It's a very, very tender cut of meat. So it'll be, I can see it's a bit like sort of slicing through. That's perfect.
Like butter.
It's a bit like slicing through, butter. It just melts through it. So you can see how moist that is as well within the steak, as well as having some juice that you can then pour over your steak and it will taste yummy because it's had the salt and pepper on the outside. That's a little bit of jus, isn't it there?
Oh,
it's just absolutely delicious. I can tell Brian looking at it going, licking her lips. So there you go. There's medium rare fillet steak. You will also have all the temperatures for rare, medium, well done steak on the page as well. And when you watch
remember
this video,
that,
it's
like,
very important.
It'll continue to cook whilst it's resting
Correct.
in that snug little dome. So take it up just before the temperature, the end result that you want,
Yes.
and resting about half the time you cooked it.
And keep practicing.